From the NBA, from Shams Charania, who joins us here in studio. Shams, what more can you tell us about this LaMelo Ball trade?
Anytime you have Anthony Edwards, you have a pressure to win, you have to pay to win, and this in LaMelo Ball is a big swing for the Timberwolves. Tim Connolly is no stranger to making these types of moves with some calculated risk. We saw several years ago when he went out and got Rudy Gobert, that's led to some playoff success. Now you go out and get LaMelo Ball. The Timberwolves felt the last couple of years point guard was a major need for this team, and they actually did look into LaMelo Ball a couple times over the last season, but they finally get him now. This is a high price. LaMelo Ball is at the peak of his value at this point, and last night, near the end of the second round, I started hearing that they were going to be moving potentially LaMelo Ball, because not that they were shopping him, but they were getting several teams inquiring, reaching out, making offers. Minnesota, Toronto, there were others as well. So Charlotte didn't start this offseason saying we're going to trade LaMelo Ball, but the offers just got so rich, as we see here, and there was always a sense if it got to that point, the Hornets would not be afraid to move on. He's beloved there, but this price, getting Naz Reid, an unprotected first-round pick that's far out, 3 first-round pick swaps, and 3 second-round picks, and Naz Reid fills a major hole on the front court for the Hornets. They've been searching for a big man in the marketplace over the last few weeks, and you get Naz Reid. He plays both ends, can shoot the three. And for all the chatter about the spending of the Timberwolves, we saw them dump Julius Randle for basically nothing. Mark Lowry and Alex Rodriguez, their owners, now enter the luxury tax with this trade for the 3rd straight year. They get LaMelo Ball, Anthony Edwards reunited, because they were the number 1 and number 3 picks in the draft. Ant went number 1, LaMelo Ball went number 3 in 2020.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that are leading to this decision. Okay, first off, Jaden McDaniels was awesome for the Timberwolves in this playoff run they just had. This expands the role for him. This opens up a lane for him that they put him alongside. In Charlotte's situation, the sort of depressed star point guard market is tough. We saw last year the Hawks struggled to be able to trade Trae Young. They finally found a deal for him. Ja Morant has not been able to be traded. LaMelo Ball, because of the injuries over the previous couple of years, it would be very difficult to move a player of his size of his contract. Not just because of the injury issues and whatever. So many teams have their star point guards, and we just saw a whole basket of teams draft potential future star point guards. There's not a big market in a big lane to move to move a highly paid star point guard. For Charlotte to see this avenue, even if they're on the fence 50-50, they have to go for it.
They striked while the iron was hot.
Yeah, and they also have the replacement already sit there, Kobe White, who they traded for last year. Okay. I know Kobe White and LaMelo are very different players, but this leans into the guys that they still have. They now are in position to have financial flexibility to pay Brandon Miller and Kobe White alongside Con Canepa.
I want to bring in Tim McMahon on this. Tim, what's your reaction to this move?
I mean, this is obviously a move about trying to make Anthony Edwards fully confident that he has a runway to contend in Minnesota. And it was costly. Honestly, not even as much in the return for the trade, but as Shams said, in the money, in the luxury tax. And there is massive risk involved here. LaMelo Ball, as talented as he is, has not proven to be a consistent.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around the latest blockbuster trade in the NBA, and I'm excited to dive into the details with all of you. The Hornets have sent LaMelo Ball to the Timberwolves in a deal that has sent shockwaves throughout the league. As I sit here, I have to ask myself, what does this mean for both teams? What are the implications of this trade, and how will it affect the future of the NBA? As I started to break down the trade, I realized that the Timberwolves are making a big bet on LaMelo Ball. They're hoping that he can pair with Anthony Edwards to form a dynamic duo that can lead the team to the playoffs. But, as we all know, LaMelo Ball comes with some risks. He's had injury issues in the past, and there are questions about his ability to stay healthy and perform at a high level. I think it's interesting to consider the motivations behind this trade. The Timberwolves are clearly trying to make a push for the playoffs, and they believe that LaMelo Ball is the piece they need to get them there. But, at what cost? They're taking on a significant amount of risk, and they're committing to a big contract. I have to wonder, is it worth it? As I delved deeper into the trade, I started to think about the other players involved. What about Naz Reid, the player the Hornets got in return? How will he fit into their system, and what can we expect from him? I think it's clear that the Hornets are trying to rebuild, and they're looking to the future. But, what does that mean for their fans? Are they going to have to suffer through a few more years of losing before the team can become competitive again? I also started to think about the financial implications of this trade. The Timberwolves are now committed to a big contract, and they're going to have to navigate the luxury tax. How will they manage their finances, and what will they have to do to stay under the cap? I think it's going to be a challenge, and it's going to require some creative thinking. As I continued to analyze the trade, I started to think about the bigger picture. What does this mean for the NBA as a whole? Are we going to see more trades like this in the future, or is this a one-off? I think it's clear that the NBA is a league that's always evolving, and teams are always looking for ways to gain an edge. But, at what point do we start to see teams taking too many risks? Is there a point where the risks outweigh the rewards? I think that's one of the most interesting things about this trade. It's a classic risk-reward scenario, and it's going to be fascinating to see how it plays out. Will the Timberwolves be able to overcome the risks and make a deep run in the playoffs, or will they struggle to stay healthy and competitive? Only time will tell, but I'm excited to watch it all unfold. As I sit here, I have to ask myself, what's next? What other moves will the Timberwolves make, and how will the Hornets rebuild? I think it's clear that this trade is just the beginning, and there are going to be many more twists and turns in the NBA. I'm excited to see what the future holds, and I'm eager to continue analyzing and discussing all the latest news and rumors. I think it's also worth considering the impact on the players involved. How will LaMelo Ball adjust to his new team, and how will he fit in with Anthony Edwards? What about the other players on the Timberwolves? How will they adjust to the new addition, and what will be their roles on the team? I think it's going to be a fascinating story to watch, and I'm excited to see how it all plays out. As I continued to think about the trade, I started to wonder about the fans. How will they react to this news, and what will they be expecting from their teams? I think it's clear that the fans are always passionate, and they're always invested in their teams. But, what happens when their team makes a big trade like this? Do they get excited, or do they get nervous? I think it's a mix of both, and it's going to be interesting to see how the fans react to this news. I also started to think about the coaches and the front office. How will they adjust to the new players, and what will be their strategy going forward? I think it's clear that the coaches and the front office are always trying to put their teams in the best position to win, and they're always making moves to achieve that goal. But, what happens when they make a big trade like this? Do they get more confident, or do they get more nervous? I think it's a mix of both, and it's going to be fascinating to see how they navigate this new situation. As I concluded my analysis of the trade, I realized that there are many more questions than answers. What will happen to the Timberwolves and the Hornets? How will the players adjust to their new teams, and what will be the impact on the NBA as a whole? I think it's clear that only time will tell, but I'm excited to continue watching and analyzing all the latest news and rumors. The NBA is a league that's always full of surprises, and I'm eager to see what's next. I'll be keeping a close eye on the Timberwolves and the Hornets, and I'll be analyzing all the latest developments. It's going to be a wild ride, and I'm excited to be along for the ride.